Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Public Service Subcommittee, and we're ready to get started this morning. Members, please sign in if you have not. We'll now take the roll. Clerk, would you please take the roll?
Madam Chair, you have 5 members present. You have a quorum.
Thank you. Are there any personal orders this morning from any of our members? Seeing none, we'll get started with our regular calendar, but we do have some housekeeping, I guess you could say, to do this morning. So I'll let everyone know about that. We have item number 1, which is House Bill 686 that has been rolled for 1 week. Item number 4, which is House Bill 1067, has also been rolled for 1 week. Item number 11, House Bill 774, has been taken off notice. Item number 15, which is House Bill 310, has been rolled for 1 week. This morning, we're going to take up item number 7 first. That's House Bill 917 by Chairman Faison.
Motion.
We have a motion. We have a second. There are no amendments filed, and so you're recognized to explain your bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I hear your lovely voice. Sounds better than when I heard you speaking yesterday.
It sounds better today.
Right on committee. This is my first time in this committee, and so I'm quite pleased to be here. I have got a bill on behalf of the State Building Commission. Our code, there's a term in our code when it deals with leasing that says special and unique requirements. They basically just want to remove that out. The revision will clarify that the State Building Commission can approve a waiver of advertisement when the members agree that it's best interest of the state for a particular lease or need by basically getting rid of special and unique requirements.
Members, you've heard the explanation. Does anyone have any questions for our sponsor? Question's been called. We're ready to vote. Madam Clerk, would you please open the vote? Has everyone voted? Madam Clerk, would you please take the roll?
Madam Chair, you have 5 ayes.
Thank you, committee.
Your bill moves on to full committee. That Next up is item number 2, which is House Bill 333 by Chairman Crawford.
Motion.
We have a motion and a second. There are no amendments. Chairman, you're recognized to explain your bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair Lady. Thank you, committee, and thank you, guests, for being here today. House Bill 333. What this particular bill does is a few little things. One is it changes the age of an officer, a firefighter, to from the age of 62 to 65. The way that the TCA reads is that is an exception. Everybody has to retire in between 62 and 65 unless you're a fire chief. What this particular bill does is hopefully address some of the problems that we're having with experience and those type things. This bill would change that, and at the end of department chiefs, it would add the word shift supervisors. And what that does is if you're part of the administration, then you could stay past 62, 65. We're starting to lose a lot of our firemen who have the experience and the knowledge and knows what's going on within the fire department. And so we've got a lot of younger guys. Yes, they're well trained and they're good, but nothing substitutes experience. And hopefully this bill will allow us to keep a little bit more experiences within our departments. Most fire departments, whether they're public or whether they're volunteer, uses the same standards. Not all of them, but most of them use the same standards as administration for shift supervisors and above. So that's what this bill does, and I'll be ready for any questions.
Do we have any questions for our sponsor? Yes, Representative Burkhart.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks, Chair Lady. Just a couple questions, just for clarification for my own benefit. Is this only cities and jurisdictions that are in the bridge program? Is that
That
all
is-
that applies to?
You're recognized.
That is correct.
My other question is, under the current, and I'm going from memory, so I may be wrong, 60, up to age 60 for what I'll call a blue shirt. And right now, under current law, it's 60 to 62 for if half your stuff is administrative, over half. And then from 62 on is only for chiefs. Is that correct?
You're
No,
recognized.
62 to 65.
Okay.
And the only exception for that is for fire department chiefs.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I'll be in favor of your bill. Thank you.
No problem.
Do we have any more questions? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. Question's been called, so we're ready to vote. Madam Clerk, please take the vote. I'm terrible about that. I'm terrible. Please announce the vote.
Madam Chair, you have 5 ayes.
Chairman, your bill moves on to full committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair Lady. Thank you, committee.
That takes us to item number 3, which is House Bill 876 by Chairman White. Do we have a motion? We have a second. There are no amendments. So Chairman, you're recognized to explain your bill.
Thank you, Chairman. I feel your pain. I feel like I've been underwater all week with this cold.
I know.
It's just everything. But members, House Bill 876 is, I've received it from Senator Farrell. I'm carrying it for him. You know, sometimes we pass bills down here that we think is obvious in the language, but a year or two later, the legal language kind of gets misinterpreted. And this is one of those. Currently, full-time state employees can enroll in up to 4 courses per year at a state higher education institution without paying tuition, maintenance, or registration, or online course fees. However, they are only limited to 1 course per year. Well, the issue back in 2017, Senator Dolores Gresham, when she was here, she passed a bill allowing state employees who are required to work more hours than typically required of full-time employment for at least 4 weeks per year to use the fee waiver for more than 1 course per semester. And so this bill is designed particularly for our General Assembly staff, because during this time of year, they're working more than 40 hours a week. You know, a lot of times they come in at 5 and things of that nature. So we're just putting into the language that a member of the General Assembly, the staff that wants to take this, then they can take 2 semester hours per semester, 2 and 2, instead of 1 each semester. It gives them a fee waiver, basically. So this kind of lines up so they can do it with, like all the other state employees, basically, if you work more than 40 hours any given time. And if you
Okay,
need more explanation, I got Ms. Curtis here, so you can help me.
okay. Members, you've heard the explanation. Does anybody have any questions? Seeing none, are we ready to vote? Madam Clerk, please open the vote. Has every member voted? Does anybody wish to change their vote? Clerk, please take the vote. The
Madam
ayes-
Chair,
Oh, go ahead.
Madam Chair, you have 5 ayes.
The ayes have it. Your bill moves on to full committee.
So that comes up number, gets us to 6.
Next up is item number 5, which is House Bill 427, and we don't see Representative Love in the audience, so we're going to roll this to the hill. And next up, we have item number 6, which is House Bill 915 by Representative Sparks. Do we have a motion? We have a second. There is an amendment filed on your bill, so let's go ahead and get a motion and a second on that amendment. Do we have a motion and a second? Representative, would you give us that drafting code?
5162.
5162. If there's no objections, let's go ahead and put that amendment on the bill. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? No. The ayes have it. The amendment goes on the bill. The bill is properly before us, and so Representative, please explain your bill.
Yes, ma'am. Many of us have experienced taking care of a aging parent or a child. Recently had to take care of my mom. About 2 years ago, she passed. Nursing homes are expensive. Costs are expensive, healthcare. But in 2023, we passed 6-week parental leave policy for state employees who welcome a new birth of a child or adoption. But still, state employees still don't have the paid family leave to care for a family member facing a serious health condition, such as cancer or end of life. House Bill 915 simply amends Tennessee's existing 6-week paid policy leave to add family caregiving as a qualifying reason for the leave. This bill will allow state employees to take paid leave to care for a parent or grandparent, child or grandchild, spouse, or sibling with a serious illness or disability. Members, by helping employees balance caregiving responsibilities without sacrificing their job or their paycheck, this piece of legislation we feel can boost employee recruitment, retention, reduce turnover, and make the state more competitive and a cost-efficient employer. The amendment, we've worked with the Department of Human Resources to draft the cleanup amendment. The amendment brings the bill closer in line with the federal Family Medical Leave Act, and there's a definition of family member, and pushes back the definition to January 1st of 2026 to allow more time for implementation. That's it.
Members, do you have any questions for our sponsor? Representative Warner, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you, Representative, for bringing the bill. I noticed this bill did not have a physical note on it. Can you explain why this bill does not have a physical note on it?
You're recognized.
I was a little surprised, to be honest, but I was also very pleased with that. And great piece of legislation. I can read back with the fiscal. They're just saying the assumptions for the bill under that is the number of employees that will take sick leave for a family member is unknown currently. The need for leave will vary based on personal circumstances, including medical emergencies, chronic conditions, and caregiving responsibilities. Not all employees will require leave in a given year, but the expanded definition of family member does increase the number of eligible individuals. But I was well pleased it didn't have a fiscal note.
You have another question? You're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, Representative Sparks, I'm just trying to figure out how you get a bill like this out without a physical note. I'd like to know the secret, you know? Thank you, Madam Chair.
We have a question from Representative McCalman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I'm sure the state would correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think to Representative Warner's question, that's because the 6 weeks is already built into their salary, so it's already part of existing approved as part of their salary. So it's not going to it's not any new money essentially.
Now you know.
That's all, Madam Chair.
Representative Warner, you're recognized.
Thank you again, Madam Chair. Representative, would this additional time that we're going to be paying the employees for taking off, would it come off of their sick time or vacation time? Would it take away from any of those days?
You're
I
recognized.
understand it's already built in, like what Jake has mentioned, or Representative McCalman. Am I correct? Yeah.
You have another question? Okay. You have a question, Representative Warner?
Just gonna wait on
Okay,
wait
just
on
wait
legal.
Representative Burkhart, did you have a question?
I just going to make a statement. I asked the ladies when they were in my office, and it does not come off your vacation or your sick time, is what I remember our conversation.
Thank you. We're going to go out of session and hear from legal.
My recollection is that it does not count against existing sick time or leave time. That it's a 6 week, standalone 6 weeks of paid leave for these different circumstances, but I'll be happy to confirm that if it gets out of subcommittee before we get to full.
Do we have any more? Okay. Representative Warner?
Yeah, quick question for legal here. So let me give you an example. Let's say if an employee has used all their sick time up and all their vacation time up, would they get an additional 6 weeks of time? Legal,
You're
please.
recognized, ma'am.
Thank you, legal. My understanding is that it would, yes.
Any more questions for legal? If not, we'll go back into session. Do you have any other comments?
Well, I'll say this. I was approached about carrying this bill. I was very apprehensive about it because I worry about the fiscal implications like many of my colleagues, but I also experienced this. You know, y'all have heard me talk about my sister that passed last year. I watched her lose everything to her name, everything. I'd go see her in the nursing home, lack of caregivers, lack of nurses. And as a Christian, I would often think, Lord, why is she in this kind of shape? Why is she dealing with this? But she was on life support when she first had her brain injury, 6 weeks. And I said a prayer. I'm like, Lord, if you're not going to heal my sister, you need to take my sister. And I don't ever say that. The first time I ever said it. Within 5 minutes, hospital called. Sister opened her eyes, started talking. And y'all heard me. Last week was music therapy week. I know music therapy may not sound like a lot to many members, but I witnessed it. And I was sharing it with Priscilla Presley last year when we talked about this. And my sister was trying to escape the nursing home. Todd, it was kind of funny in a way. She was trying to escape. And guess what she was singing? Remember, she had a brain injury. She was singing Country Road, Take Me Home, the Place I Belong. She didn't know who I was. And I thought, how does the brain know the power of a song when she was 14 and 15 years old, but didn't know who I was? And I wanted to take her home. I wanted to bring her home. We just couldn't care for her because she was paralyzed. She had a brain injury. But my mom, we were able to bring her home. You know, that nursing home was about $3,500 a month. And the care really wasn't that good. And it was an expensive place. I won't say the place, but it's really nice in Smyrna. Remember one time the nurse, I was waiting for the meds to come by to come get her medication. My mom's Scotch Irish. She was from Scotland. She was 90 at the time. And I said, well, where's the med lady? They said, oh, she quit. I was like, man, this is jacked up. It's a jacked up system because there's no better nurse than my wife. And I was apprehensive about carrying this because of the fiscal note, but miraculously, there's no fiscal note. So thank you, members, for the great questions.
I think legal now has an answer, and so we're going to go out of session and hear from legal.
Thank you, Matt Money from legal. I just wanted to confirm what I said in the code. In this section under sub B, it says leave used by an eligible employee pursuant to the section must not be charged to sick, annual, or other leave. So this would be, the FMLA gives 12 unpaid weeks of leave. Any leave used under this counts against those 12 weeks. So in Tennessee, we give an additional benefit of 6 weeks of paid leave that has to be taken off the FMLA leave. So you get 6 weeks paid, 6 weeks unpaid under the FMLA, but it doesn't count against your accumulated sick leave, annual leave, or comp leave.
While we're out,
Representative Warner.
so if I understood you right, the state would be given an additional 6 weeks of paid leave, correct?
Mr. Mundy.
That's correct. In your scenario before, if they had exhausted all their annual sick or other time that was given to them, they would still be entitled to 6 weeks of paid leave under the statute.
Thank you, sir.
Any more questions for legal? If not, we'll go back into session. Are we ready to vote? All in favor of the bill, please say aye. Those opposed. Oh, open a vote, please, clerk. All in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, no. Has everybody voted? Does anybody want to change their vote? Clerk, please take the vote.
Madam Chair, you have 6 ayes.
The ayes have it. So your bill moves on to full committee. That takes us to number 8 on our calendar, which is House Bill 548 by Representative Cochran. Do we have a motion and a second? Do we have a motion and a second on this piece of legislation? Okay, we do. There is an amendment filed on this bill, so we go ahead and get a motion and a second on the amendment. Would you, Representative, would you please give us your drafting code?
Yes, ma'am. That drafting code is 004942.
If there's no objections, let's go ahead and put this amendment on the bill. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendment goes on the bill. The bill is properly before us, Representative, so please explain your bill.
Thank you, Chair Lady and committee. Yeah, the goal of House Bill 548 is to ensure that it's the policy of the state of Tennessee to prohibit public procurement of any final products or services from a foreign adversary. Whether those products or services are sold directly by the adversary or through third parties. Again, we want to ensure that we are acquiring our goods and services from those who are those who do not have negative intentions for our nation and our state. The way that what the amendment does, the enforcement of this would be carried out very similarly as like the Iran Divestment Act. So when General Services puts out a bid, for instance, if you place a bid on a good or service in the state of Tennessee, you sign a form saying that good or service is not from Iran. This would be very similar. You're signing a statement saying the product, the final product. It doesn't mean that it can't have some components from it, but the final product is not from a foreign adversary company located in one of those countries. And I'll yield to any questions.
Thank you for that explanation, and I do believe we do have some questions. First up is Representative McCallum.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Leader Cochran, does this bill, in any way, does it have a grandfathering provision for companies that say the state may be purchasing tech equipment from or like anything like that?
You're recognized.
Thank you, Chair Lady. In a sense, and so the grandfather provision in this would be that it would not apply to any current state contract. And so if let's say that there is a company that has a contract that's owned by China or any other foreign adversary company, and they are providing a good or service currently, and that contract doesn't end until 2029. That contract is still good. It's just saying when the contract is reprocured, at that point, the state has to go by this policy that you can't get goods or services from a foreign adversary, but it wouldn't end any current contract.
You're recognized.
Thank you, Leader. Appreciate it. Thank you, Chair Lady.
Okay. We do have Representative Warner. You're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I think Representative McCalman asked most of my questions, but just let me get a little bit of clarification. So if we're buying stuff from China, the state is, and these people are already under contract with the state for doing whatever they might be doing. When the contract was up, when the time to renew, would they be eligible at that time to renew?
You're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. Representative, they would not.
Any more questions? Are we ready to vote? We got another question. Okay. Representative Warner, you're recognized. Oh, you're fine. I'm sorry. Representative Salinas.
Hi. So how is foreign adversary defined? And what if someone is no longer a foreign adversary? How would this impact contracts after someone doesn't become a foreign adversary if things were to change?
You're recognized.
Thank you, Chair Lady. Of course, if they weren't a foreign adversary, it would have no effect on them. Foreign adversary means a country designated by the United States Department of Commerce in federal code as of January 1st, 2025. And so that's a federal definition. So our federal government has a list of foreign adversaries, and then a foreign adversary company is one that is domiciled, incorporated, issued, or listed in that foreign adversary country. It's headquartered in a foreign adversary, has its principal place of business in a foreign adversary, or is controlled by the government of a foreign adversary. So for foreign adversary country, there are a list of them. China is one of them. Iran is one of them. There are numerous others, but those are set by the federal government.
Representative Salinas, you're recognized.
Okay, so let's say China comes off the foreign adversary list, and then currently someone else had said the contract comes back up. They wouldn't, if they are no longer on the list, and another contract that was, let's say, not renewed, they would be eligible again to proceed with a contract, to bid for a contract from China, let's say.
You're recognized.
Thank you, Chair Lady. When at the time when that contract is procured, so let's say you're on the foreign adversary list today, the contract does not expire until 2029. If at some point between now and 2029 you come off of that foreign adversary list, you are certainly eligible to bid on in the state. But if you are on the foreign adversary list at the time of procurement, at the time that they let for bid on a product or service, if you were on the foreign adversary list at that time, you are not eligible. But if you've come off that list before the procurement date, certainly you're eligible.
You're recognized.
So what if you have a contract, so you procured it, they weren't a foreign adversary, and then they do become a foreign adversary, that contract would still be honored until it ends?
You're recognized.
Thank you, Chair Lady. There's nothing in this bill that would invalidate a current existing contract.
I think we have a question from Representative McCalman.
Thank you, Chair Lady. And I was just discussing with our attorney here, and I think it would be beneficial for just to provide some greater specificity if we could go out of session and have legal explain what actually would be affected by this bill. So I'd make a motion to go out of session, Madam Chair.
Sure. We'll go out of session or hear from legal.
Thank you, Matt Mundy from Legal. There are a couple of exceptions that are kind of nuanced. So this really applies to suppliers of final products. So a completed product for sale at retail. There's an exception if there's a component of a product that's produced by a foreign adversary company. So if it's just a component or what we call an input, like if it's a smartphone, if it's some minor component or a chip or something like that that's produced, that phone could still be sold under a state or local contract.
Representative McCalman.
Thank you, Chair Lady. And Mr. Monday, just to get clarification, if we have a case in point, a computer that is made in Mexico and it's headquartered in North Carolina, but it happens to be traded on the Hong Kong exchange, would that be affected since it's made in Mexico?
You're recognized, Mr. Mundy.
As long as the final product was not completely built or developed in a foreign adversary company, and maybe perhaps the computer had some components that were, it would be eligible for a state or local contract.
Any more questions? Oh, I've got to go back into session. If we have no more questions, are we ready to vote? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, would you please open the vote? Would you please take the vote?
Madam Chair, you have 5 ayes and 1 no.
The ayes have it. Your bill moves on to full committee. We're going to go back to item number 5, which is House Bill 426 by Representative Love. Do we have?
Sorry, that's House Bill 427.
427. I misspoke. 427. Do we have a motion and a second? We have a motion. We have a second. There are no amendments. So, Representative, you're recognized to explain your bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Every day, 12 people die waiting for a kidney transplant. Living organ donation plays a vital role in addressing these crises. However, many potential living donors face barriers that discourage them from pursuing this life-saving act. Living organ donation is a remarkable gift, but it shouldn't come at the expense of a donor's financial security or employment. And so in 23 other states, we have legislation that protects living kidney and living organ donors. So this legislation just simply says that it would allow additional leave up to 12 weeks for recovery from surgery related to living organ donation. It also prohibits an insurer from denying coverage or otherwise varying any term or condition of a life insurance policy, disability insurance policy, or long-term care insurance policy for a person based solely on the status of the person being a living organ donor. And with that, Madam Chair, I stand for questions.
Do we have any questions? Seeing none, are we ready to vote? Madam Clerk, please open the vote. Has everyone voted? Does anyone wish to change their vote? If not, Madam Clerk, please take the vote.
Madam Chair, you have 6 ayes.
The ayes have it, and your bill moves on to full committee. Okay, that takes us back to item number 9, which is House Bill 741 by Representative McKenzie. We have a motion and we have a second, and there are no amendments. Oh, there are 2 amendments. I can't read this morning. There are 2 amendments on your bill. Okay, let's go ahead and do we have a motion and a second on the first amendment? We do. So Representative, would you please give us your drafting code and explain your amendment?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And this will be the only amendment that I'm going to carry with this bill, and it's Amendment 4670. And it reduces the length of storage to 13 months, which had the advantage of taking the fiscal note down to 0.
If there's no objections, let's go ahead and put that amendment on this bill. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. Ayes have it. The amendment goes on the bill. Okay. So now you're recognized to explain your bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair and committee. Good morning, committee. Today I bring you House Bill 741. This bill seeks to make a statewide policy regarding the use of body cameras by a local law enforcement agency. Sadly, this legislation was created in response to two significant events in my home county of Knox County. Earlier this year, 18-year-old Davion St. Germain was shot and killed inside his home by South Knox County during a SWAT raid. Citizens in Knox County asked what happened during the raid that caused the death of Mr. St. Germain. And they asked, can't we look into the police body cameras footage? Not in this particular situation. They're not required to wear a body camera. Think about it. A SWAT team can kick your door in the morning, but you don't have the body camera when they're involved in such high-risk activities. And all that we've determined what was happening is from eyewitness reports and from other SWAT members. And Mr. St. Germain sadly cannot give his side. Second story, in the Knoxville News Sentinel, our major paper in the city, did an investigative report on the catalytic converter theft ring in 2024 and found the sheriff's office withheld body cameras footage from the defense attorneys and the local DA's office as well for 18 months. These officers were, in fact, wearing body camera during the raid, but did not release them. And these are just a couple of examples of my district, but body cameras are a really important tool to erase any doubt as to what happens to in these intense life and death encounters. These tools protect officers and citizens alike. So my legislation creates a statewide policy for storage and use of body cameras. This bill requires law enforcement agencies to adopt a written policy regarding the use of their cameras. This legislation requires a written policy for storing the data for 6 months for a routine event, and if there's any use of force, to be retained for 13 months. And by the way, Knox County, as a result of this event, now required SWAT members to wear their body cameras. So this isn't an attack or anything on this. It just creates some consistency across the state as they use their body camera footage. And with that, I ask for your approval. Stand ready for questions as well.
We do have some people here with the Department of Safety. So we're going to go out of session and hear from them. Elizabeth Stroker and Colonel Matthew Perry, would you please come up? Please state your name and who you're with for the record. And you have 3 minutes. And welcome to our committee.
Elizabeth Stroker, Legislative Director for the Department of Safety. And we agree with all of the statements that the sponsor of the bill just kind of talked about. Our opposition to the bill comes from the other half of the bill. There are provisions in the bill that actually prohibit the use of body cameras in situations where law enforcement would deem that extremely necessary. Some of the situations in the bill is that if, as you all know, the troopers in this building wear body cameras because there are a lot of peaceful, lawful protests that happen. They wear them in the Capitol for anything that may happen as well for both the citizens' protection and their protection. It would prohibit that under this bill. Additionally, there are parameters in the bill where members of the public could request that body camera footage either not be sent out or body camera footage not be retained or retained for a longer time than necessary. And that obviously creates a lot of concerns for our department because we have, I believe almost every trooper who's out on parole or serving in this facility has body cameras that they use. And it would create weird situations where if a member of the public requested, hey, I don't want you to record me while they're in this building, it would get rid of the entire process that we have currently for recording activities, both out in the public when we're responding to protests and things of that nature. And some of the other concerns with the bill is the mandatory retention, and not necessarily a retention piece, but we do not get rid of body camera footage for, I believe it's 5 years minimum under state retention laws. And then obviously we're not going to get rid of a lot of it if there's an active investigation. And this would allow for members of the public or people in those videos to be able to come in and both review it which could violate other people's privacy if there are other individuals in that video that may have their personal information included in it. And also, they would get kind of a right of first refusal for if video would go out or if that video would need to be retained for longer. And someone would have up to 6 months to come to us and decide, hey, I don't want you to keep that footage, or I want you to keep that footage for longer, which is not our consistent practice with mandatory retention of 5 years. And so that while we agree that body cameras are great, that's why we have them on so many troopers. We are not comfortable with the rest of the bill where it is restricting those uses and allowing members of the public to come in and view personal information, and being able to restrict what we do and don't do with that footage. And another big piece of it, it prohibits us from being able to review the body camera footage prior to an investigation or an interrogation with someone. And that's obviously a big concern for us. So while we agree with what the sponsor spoke to, it's the rest of the bill, kind of that second half, that gives us a lot of concern with our current practices.
Thank you for your testimony. Do we have any questions for our guest? Representative Warner. You're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. What is the Department of Safety's current policy on body cameras? How the Department of Safety, are they on 20 when an officer's on duty, or do they have the option to cut them on and off, or how does the state's policy work?
You're recognized. And please state your name?
I haven't yet. Yes,
Okay,
Colonel
state
Matt Perry, Tennessee Highway Patrol.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question. So troopers are to activate their body camera, patrol troopers, when they are dealing with the public. So a traffic stop, a motorist assist, a flat tire, anywhere they might engage the public. Places like here, they're not always running because the storage would be insane. They turn them on when they're going to have interactions. But that's, and I agree completely with the sponsor. We want troopers to have body cameras on all the time when they're dealing with the public. It just preserves the integrity of that encounter. It doesn't leave anything up to question. People file complaints on troopers. It protects the trooper when they didn't do anything wrong. And there are times when a trooper has done something wrong or didn't do something the correct way, and it protects the person that a trooper is dealing with. To Representative's point, our SWAT team, our special operations, we've had cameras on them it became a practice several years ago. We believe in capturing every encounter, leave no question. And so that's our biggest concern, is that there might be a time where a trooper has to turn their camera off when they're dealing in a serious, event or interaction.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So it's your policy, like if the SWAT team, state SWAT team, had to go in and do something, they would have their cameras on, correct?
Yes, sir.
Correct.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any more questions for our guest? Yes, Representative Salinas.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if this is a question for y'all or for legal, but you said when you deal with the public, and that one of the concerns was if it implies other people and they would want to review the cameras footage, that it would apply more than one person. But if you're dealing with the public, do the people have an expectation of privacy in these scenarios or not?
You're recognized.
And I think that's kind of the point to what we're trying to get at is we're talking about, there's a clause in here dealing with people who are exercising their First Amendment right. And if they say, I don't want you recording me, even though they're in a public space, we would have to then turn those cameras off, even though we are providing security or protection. So we would have to deactivate cameras that it's our policy to use, even though people are acting in a public space, which is our concern.
Any more questions for our guest? Seeing none, thank you so much for being here. We'll go back into session. Representative McKenzie, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank the members from Department of Safety. And I'll agree with pretty much everything that they said. But what I'll say to that 90% that I agree with, this policy won't hinder anything that they do. Luckily, fortunately, the state of Tennessee has done a great job with our Department of Safety. Their rules trump this policy by factors of 2 and 3. So in terms of the retention and everything, so this bill this sets a floor. And I'm not just saying it because here our troopers are in the penthouse, but there's a lot of people that are below the floor. Now, as it relates to the freedom of speech, there's an important part in this bill there, and it says that in this case, in this building, our troopers, or if you're out in the field or whatever city or state, they can't use them for the express intent of gathering intelligence information based on free speech and associated with the free with religion or anything else unrelated to responses to calls. So I think that's an important part. I don't know, I'm no one's lawyer, but the intent, I can tell you the intent of that piece, and that's only one piece, and it's only dealing with if you have an agency, and we've had that a little north of here, right? That was out with some nefarious activities in terms of targeting. That was the point of this, that they were trying to play gotcha or catch someone in the act or something in doing their free speech. So that was the point of that. It was never intended for what, and I don't think, again, not a lawyer, I don't think anything in this bill would hinder our troopers from doing their job here in our office buildings, protecting us and our citizens, and while allowing them free speech.
We do have a question from Representative Warner. No questions. So are there any more questions? Representative Eldridge.
Question on the bill.
Question's been called. So we're ready to vote. Clerk, please open the vote. Has everyone voted? Does anyone wish to change their vote? If not, clerk, please take the vote.
Madam Chair, you have 1 aye and 5 noes.
I'm sorry, but your bill fails.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Next up, we have item number 10, which is House Bill 773 by Representative Powers. We have a motion and a second on the bill. There is an amendment filed on the bill. Do we have a motion and a second on that bill, on that amendment? Representative, would you please give us your drafting code?
Yes. By the way, I miss being on this committee, so thank you all for being back. A lot of new faces on here. It's 4461.
And we miss having you. So 4461, is there no objections? We'll go ahead and put this amendment on the bill. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Amendment's on the bill. So Representative, the bill's properly before us, and you're recognized to explain your bill.
All right. Thank you. House Bill 773 provides that when legal notices are required to be published in a newspaper of general circulation, the notice must also be published on a news and information website if one would exist in that area. Requires any news and information website on which a legal notice must be published to be separate and distinct website from the newspaper of general circulation that is owned by an entity other than a newspaper of general circulation. And it prohibits legal notices from being published in any news information website that requires a fee or a subscription for a person to view that website. And with that, Madam Chair, I renew my motion.
Thank you. Sponsor, we do have a question. I think.
Okay.
Representative McCalman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Sponsor, just clarification. I may not have had enough coffee this morning. So, does this bill essentially? So you've got, I think the Tennessean has a subscription fee that you have to charge. If there's legal notices being published, they'd have to waive the subscription fee, or am I understanding that right?
Thank you. No, it's just saying that right now the statute says that they have to be published in a newspaper of general circulation. This is just adding something additional. This is adding a website that's not a newspaper website. You know, we got so many people now that do not, unfortunately or fortunately, do not read newspapers. So there's a lot of news and information websites out there. So if there is one in that particular county that is available, it would just say that like a county had a public notice or that they had to publish, that they would also have to publish it additionally in the other website if one was available.
You're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And just making sure, so this wouldn't necessarily prevent them from charging their subscription fee to view content. It would just make it, they can't charge to view the legal notices. Am I understanding that?
You're recognized.
The website that they would be publishing on would be a free website that anyone could go look on. Yes, they'll be charging for the legal notices just like a newspaper would be, but the website that would be available to them, if there is one available, it has to be a free website located in that particular area.
Any more questions for our sponsor? Seeing none, are we ready to vote? Madam Clerk, please open the vote. Has everybody voted? Does anyone wish to change their vote? If not, Madam Clerk, please take the vote.
Madam Chair, you have 6 ayes.
The ayes have it, and your bill moves on to full committee. I believe you're up once again with item number 12, which is House Bill 939. We have a motion and a second, and there's also an amendment filed on this bill. So do I have a motion and a second on the amendment? Representative, would you please give us your drafting code on that amendment?
Sure. They have the drafting code of 4602.
If there's no objections, let's go ahead and get this on the bill. So all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. Ayes have it, and the amendment goes on the bill.
Aye.
And you're recognized to explain your bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. House Bill 939, as amended, would guarantee that ERISA protections remain in force in Tennessee. As you probably know, ERISA is the Employment Retirement Income Security Act of 1974, and of course that's a federal law. This bill will get the insurance companies out of the way and allow empowers companies to use their own money to design a plan that is right for them. It will also keep others from forcing coverage mandates on Tennessee employers that do not align with their sincerely held religious beliefs, or from being forced to offer benefits from their employees that they simply don't need. Self-funded employees should be able to choose the coverage that is right for them. No outside group or government should be able to force them to provide certain coverages if they are self-funded and using their own money to pay claims instead of relying on an insurance company. And with that, Madam Chair, I renew my motion.
Do we have any questions for our sponsor? Questions have been called, so we're ready to vote. Madam Clerk, please open the vote. Those in favor of, and please signify by saying aye. Those opposed, no. Madam Clerk, please please take the vote.
Madam Chair, you have 4 ayes and 1 present not voting.
The ayes have it, and your bill moves on to full committee. Next up is item number 13, House Bill 463 by Representative Travis. Do we have a motion and a second? There are no amendments, so Representative, you're recognized to
Thank you, Madam
explain your
Chair.
bill.
If you would, let me tell you why I am here today, before I get into the bill. It is that the members of the Tennessee General Assembly receive a base salary of just a little more than $28,000 a year. The amount is equivalent or less than compensation rates for most part-time employed positions. And as you well know, as legislators receive part-time compensation while their duties demand a full-time job. You know, we often work 12 hours a day while we're in session. And then when we're home, we're at events, auxiliary events, and all this. We're away from our families. So this is why I am bringing this bill to you.
In 2014, we voted to have the legacy plan stalled. It was locked down. And then we started a hybrid plan. So if you were here before 2014, you're with a hybrid plan now. And simply all this bill does, if you've served 10 years as a General Assembly, that you can move out of the hybrid plan to the legacy plan. And that's what we're doing with this bill. It's pretty basically simple. After 10 years, you can go from the hybrid plan to the legacy plan. And I will take any questions on this part right here.
Do we have any questions for our sponsor? Oh, we do. Representative Salinas, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Representative Travis, I agree with all the reasoning why you're bringing this bill forth. You cited that how much we make and how little that is, but yet that's more than what someone that's making minimum wage makes. And, I agree. I think that people that have done the work should be entitled to benefits and have the option, especially if they've been here for 10 years or more. But what we're asking for is not what we're providing the citizens of the state of Tennessee. So it is hypocritical, and I'm going to support for this bill, but it's hypocritical for us to vote, for us to have health care, knowing the financial restrictions that we have within our jobs here at the legislature, and deny the people of Tennessee the same benefits by not passing Medicaid expansion.
Representative Travis, you're recognized.
I agree, Representative, with you wholeheartedly. But this is a bill about the General Assembly with a health insurance part, because when people up here serve 10 or plus years, let's say that they come out at 55, we still have to pay part of this health insurance ourselves. That's what we have to do. But it gives the opportunity for us to have a way to get health insurance, because in health insurance field, it's very difficult sometimes to get, and for the pricing that it is, it's very expensive. So that's why I'm bringing this bill.
You're recognized.
Yes, and I agree. I just would love for the same consideration to be given to all Tennesseans.
Do we have any more questions of our sponsor? Seeing none, are we ready to vote? Madam Clerk, please open the vote. Has everyone voted that wishes to vote? Please take the vote, Madam Clerk.
Madam Chair, you have 5 ayes.
The ayes have it, and your bill moves on to full committee. Next up, we have item number 14, House Bill 462, also by Representative Travis. Do we have a motion? We have a second. There are no amendments filed. Representative, you're recognized to explain your bill.
Thank you, ma'am. Now, I just want to say I'm not going to read why I'm bringing this bill to you today, because I've already read that situation. So again, let's go to the hybrid plan that was in 2014 to present. This also 10 years or more as a legislator, that you will be able to go from the hybrid plan to the legacy plan after the 10 years in what they call the retirement benefit. And what the retirement benefit is that for every year that we serve, we get $120 a month for our service. So that's what this would do. The legacy plan, after 10 years you've been here, every year you serve after that, you'll get $120 a month for every year that you serve. And with that, Madam Speaker, I'll take any questions.
Do we have any questions for our sponsor? We do. Representative Salinas, you're recognized.
How is this not a handout?
Representative Travis, you're recognized.
Again, I mean, this is what we do is a full-time job. That's what we do. We get part-time work and we work full-time all the time. So this is more of a retirement benefit for those who serve 10 years or more in the General Assembly.
You're recognized.
Are there any other retirement plans that are 10 years in the state of Tennessee?
Representative Travis, you're recognized.
I don't know the answer to that question. If there's any other retirements, I just retired from an association in January, and it was in sales. So there's no retirement benefits in sales, but I did get a residual of my market. So that's what I considered my retirement plan on that.
You're recognized.
Yeah, to my knowledge, I don't know about any other 10-year retirement plans or benefits out there. But
Representative Burkhart, you're recognized for question.
Thank you, Chair Lady. Just to answer the representative's question, in a previous life, I was a firefighter, and we were vested after 5 years. So, yes, to answer your question, yes, there are. So you can be in even as low as 5 years, you can be vested. So that was just an answer to your question.
Any more questions for our sponsor? Questions have been called. We're ready to vote. Madam Clerk, please open the vote. Has everyone voted? Does anyone wants to change their vote? If not, Madam Clerk, please take the vote.
Madam Chair, you have 4 ayes and 1 no.
Ayes have it, and your bill moves on to full committee. Thank you. Next up, we have House item number 16, House Bill 1293 by Chairman Eldridge. Do we have a motion and a second? We do, and there are no amendments, and so Representative, you're recognized to explain your bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We currently have on the books a law that Tennessee Code that when people make records requests, we have some folks sadly that abuse that. And we passed a law a few years ago that took care of that, the records request. The custodian has to notify the person that's been, that's making the disruption and of the requests after their 5th request. So they're given some leniency there, but at some point you have to kind of put a stop to it. And this law is currently in place. Nothing is changing. It's set to sunset on July the 1st of this year. The bill that I'm carrying just amends it and removes the sunset provision. The law is currently in place.
You've heard the explanation. Do we have any questions of our sponsor?
Question on the bill.
Question's been called, and so we're ready to vote. Madam Clerk, would you open the vote? Has every member voted? Does anyone wish to change their vote? If not, please take the vote.
Madam Chair, you have 4 ayes and 1 no.
The ayes have it. Your bill moves on to full committee. That concludes the business of our committee, and I will entertain a motion to adjourn. We are adjourned.